To the Carol A. Tate Teaching and Learning Center's presentation of Study Skills, the Feynman Technique. This video will discuss the Feynman Technique, a method for breaking down complex concepts into easy-to-manage explanations, as well as provide you with an example of how and when to use it. So what is the Feynman Technique? Physicist Richard Feynman created what is now known as the Feynman Technique to improve comprehension of complex concepts. Feynman once said, "There's always another way to say the same thing that doesn't look at all the way you said it before." He believed to demonstrate mastery of a concept, you must be able to describe it simply to someone with no knowledge of the concept. With this mindset, the Feynman technique was born as he created this four-step learning method. Feynman believed that this method not only improves understanding, but does so in a more time-efficient manner. It is important to understand that the Feynman technique should not be used for everything. It is best to use this learning method for complicated or complex topics like you find in math and science classes. If a concept is unclear or you're dealing with a difficult process, the Feynman technique might help improve your understanding. When concepts have multiple elements that are interacting together in some manner, this learning method can help break it down into its pieces so that you can make sure that you understand each piece and how they fit together with each other to build that concept. Just be sure not to overuse this method because it doesn't work for everything. Let's look at the steps in the process. First, start by writing the name and definition of the concept at the top of a sheet of paper. Next, explain it in your own words as if you were teaching it to someone else. Then, review and analyze your explanation, making sure that all the information is correct and not written using any technical terms or complex language. Refer back to your textbook and notes if necessary. Finally, simplify it by filling in any gaps that you may have found and using relevant analogies when you can. Your final explanation should be so plain and simple that someone without your knowledge can understand the concept. Let's look at an example using the Pythagorean theorem. For step 1, write the name of the concept at the top of a sheet of paper. Underneath it, write the definition of the concept, either from your textbook or ebook, a dictionary definition, or class notes from your instructor's lecture. Take the Pythagorean theorem, for example. It states, for any right triangle, the square of the hypotenuse equals the square of the legs when they are added together. And the Pythagorean theorem is represented with the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Next, explain that concept in your own words as simply as you can, like you're teaching it to someone else. To make sure that you're using plain and simple language, imagine the person you're explaining it to does not have any knowledge of that concept. For the Pythagorean theorem example, try putting the definition in different words, such as square leg A and square leg B, add them together. The answer you will get will equal the hypotenuse after it's square rooted. Add an example when you're given the measurements of both legs, including a picture, and work out that example to help solidify the process. After you have your own definition of your concept, you need to review and analyze it. While completing this step, make sure that your definition is accurate and not missing any pieces. You should also take this time to check your wording and take out any technical words or complex language. Revise your explanation if necessary. To reword the definition for the Pythagorean theorem again, you might say, for right triangles, square each leg A and B and add them together. The answer equals the hypotenuse C squared. It might be a good idea to include another example when you only know the measurement of one leg and the hypotenuse to go along with the existing example of when you were given both leg measurements. After you have revised your explanation and example, you are left with a simplified explanation and an example that is free of any missing pieces. If you need to create an analogy or real-life situation in order to help with your understanding of the concept, feel free to do so. The final product could be something like, The Pythagorean theorem states that for right triangles, square each leg A and B and add them together. The answer equals the hypotenuse, or c squared. It is represented with the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Be sure to remember Pythagorean theorem only works for right triangles. It is a plug and chug type of problem because you plug numbers in for the letters and solve. So these types of problems can be solved no matter which two measurements you are given. Just to recap, the Feynman technique is a learning method that may help you remember a new concept or idea that is complicated or complex. First, you must name and define your concept. Second, explain it by breaking down the concept using your own words and putting a real-world example with it. Third, review your explanation to make sure that it is correct and written in a plain and simple way. Lastly, simplify your explanation and fill in any missing pieces to the explanation or real-world example that you came up with. This final product is your short and sweet explanation of that concept. Thank you for watching this video on the Feynman technique. For more information on study skills, subscribe to the Carol A. Tate Teaching and Learning Center YouTube channel.